What is going on, guys? Welcome to Random Undertone. My name is Random, and this is Star Citizen's Tips and Tricks for Beginners. So, when you first start this game, there is a very steep learning curve. There's a lot to learn, and as much time as you have to devote to learning it, a lot of people lose their minds and just quit because they see the bugs, they see the problems, they see all that kind of stuff, and just say, nah, screw it. So when you first start the game, you're going to have to choose your home base. I like to choose Lorville because I feel like it's just a little bit easier to get in and out of, a little bit easier to navigate. Some of the other places can get real tricky. Then you're going to go ahead and customize your character. I know you're all super jealous of my super sweet mohawk, but you know, it's a patented look, so don't steal that. You owe me a quarter. You don't owe me a quarter. It's fine. Don't worry about that. So once you've gone ahead and selected your character, you're going to want to jump into the universe. Now let's talk about base selection. There are major pros and cons to where you set your home base. But as a new player, one hard and fast rule is you're going to die. A lot. It's no big deal, and you can call each death a learning experience, but from a mitigating stress level standpoint, I recommend setting your respawn location, your equipment, and ships to the space station of your home planet rather than the ground-based city. So we're going to go ahead and do a side-by-side comparison, sped up, of course, because we don't have all day. Am I right? What the space station lacks in shopping frills, it makes up for in sheer speed of getting on and off. When you set up at a ground-based city, you have to learn the city's layout, wait around for trains anytime you want to go anywhere. And if you're anything like me, gaming is something you do when the kids are asleep or your wife is having girls' night. You don't always have the luxury of huge gobs of time to wait around admiring the views off train platforms. So, all told, it was about 6.5 minutes to get off the station, and that included me, walking around the ship and showing stuff and stopping by the snack bar. So, call it less than 5 minutes. So now we're going to do a kind of reverse of what we just saw, where we're landing at Lorville in our fancy Aurora, which is not so fancy. And we're going to go through just trying to sell some personal weapons that I've picked up. The first obstacle that you'll notice we'll encounter here is the Atmo, which just kind of slows down our overall speed for re-entry. After that, we've got to take an elevator, which for whatever reason, the station elevators are faster. I'm not sure why, but they're pretty much instant, as opposed to here where you it takes a while. Also, I went ahead and left in the sound of what sounds like Stewie running. I just think that's so funny. So yeah. Stewie running. So then after that, we have to run through the the maze of corridors. Now, I lucked out and happened to catch this train right as it was about to leave. If I hadn't, I would have spent another minute and a half waiting for the next train, and then another 2.5 minutes to ride to city center. So I got a little lost coming through here. I ended up taking the long way because I got turned around. There are easier ways to the guns shop, but that wasn't it. So the selling kiosks in the game are fairly straightforward. It's the same for personal weapons, drinks, and even ships and equipment. It always looks the same. It's all pretty straightforward. One thing you do want to pay attention to is your destination or source. Because if you're trying to sell from something that doesn't have anything in it, you don't have anything to sell. If you're trying to buy a level 6 Gatling gun and trying to stick it in your backpack, that's not going to work. There's one problem, though. When you buy something from down on the bottom of the list, it automatically takes you back to the top of the list, which can be a little troublesome when you're trying to sell large quantities of items. So here, I'm showing you the benefits of buying a container. When you buy a container, just go to miscellaneous or other, and you can right-click on it and open it. And by doing that, you can drop whatever items you want into that particular container. It's a pretty simple thing of just selling the container with all the items in it. And it helps you a lot in the long run as far as trying to get around the glitchy selling kiosks at the moment. So a helpful little tip here is that you don't actually have to land at a station to offload any of your gear or pick up anything that you have stored at a particular station. You just have to enter the Armistice zone that surrounds any landing area, like space stations or even cities. So all you have to do is slow down enough so that your character doesn't fall over, and you can still do it if your character falls over, but it's not a big deal. So from here, we're in the Armistice zone. You can see that my local and my vehicle are now available. So this is all the gear that I have stored locally on this space station. So all I have to do is set my vehicle, and I like to set a random filter so that I don't have to try to find a spot for each thing. I can just grab it and drop it. And they still have not added any kind of select multiple items to the inventory, which I'm really hoping comes in the next update, but I'm not holding my breath on that, to be honest with you. So from here, you can just do anything you want. You know, pick up materials, drop off materials, whatever you want. Alright, another wrinkle worth knowing is the flip brake. This works in Atmo, though it's a little bit trickier, but it usually works best at a space station. And it's the most efficient way to get to the station because, obviously, anytime you come out of Quantum, it's going to stop you 24 kilometers away from wherever you are. So what you do is you speed up, full throttle, gun it in, and then this part takes a little bit of practice, but once you get to a certain point, you let off the throttle and you flip around and find your reverse tracking. That reverse symbol with the two little brackets is telling you which way the back end of your ship is going, or like the back of your thrust basically is going. And there you have it. Easy. So now you know how to get off the station and you know how to flip brake, so let's talk about getting back onto the station once you've left it. It can be a little daunting. Back in the day, there didn't used to be a marker to tell you what station you were cleared to, and that was super fun. But now there's a marker. And then this is what happens when a flip brake, well, doesn't work. Bleh.
Thank you.
So basically that was hitting the invisible wall of the Armistice zone. Not really sure why it does that, but sometimes it'll just toss you around a little bit, and as long as you pointed yourself in a decent direction when you started accelerating, you won't bang into the station. You still might. I personally like to set my comms to my display because I just think it's easier to hold down F and look than it is to go through the F1 key and try to find it on the comms panel and all that good stuff. See, there's the marker now, the circle with the V in it. That helps so much. Oh my god, it's so nice. I know exactly where I'm going. I don't have to spend 20 minutes flying in circles. And that's it. Little tip here. Make sure you're using your scroll wheel to control your throttle inputs, because it's real easy to come in real hot, and that throttle input helps tremendously. And I like to go in nose first because then I can see how far away I am and how much room I have to maneuver. I personally think it's easier. A lot of people don't. They like to come in flat like they're landing a helicopter, and that's fine for them. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, Star Citizen is in an alpha stage. There's a lot of bugs. I always store my ship after I've loaded off everything because you never know what's going to happen. However, if you haven't unloaded everything, do not store your ship. So here's a quick rundown on the icons you're going to see when you're quantum traveling. Kind of landing zones, but points of interest are going to be the one with the six-sided hexagon, I think it is. The home plate looking one is going to be your city. And diamonds are going to be points of interest that are not kind of on planets, like the orbital markers and things like that. And my personal favorite is the square, which is the station. It's red right now because I'm too close, but that's going to be the station icon. So square and home plate are good. Everything else is good too, but those are the two you really want to pay attention to. Another very important thing is power distribution. You can set it with the mouse if you want, but you don't always have time to do that. Say if you're in a dogfight or, if you're, just flying around. If you press F5, it's to the weapons, F6 is to the engines, F7 to the shields, and F8 resets everything. So the last thing I'm going to show you real quick is your MobiGlass, which we've seen a little bit before, but this will be a little bit more in-depth. Comms, the knickknacks is actually where you can see where you have equipment in the universe. Guns, weapons, all that kind of stuff shows up in knickknacks. It'll just tell you where it is. Your star map's pretty self-explanatory. The MD trader is actually really interesting because you can send money to other players, whether it's for, getting rescued or just because they asked for it or what have you. Anytime you want to send money, really. Vehicle maintenance is only good when you're on the landing pad in your ship. And the Delphi will tell you your standing with each security force, with each planet, with each corporation that you've worked for in the past. And last but not least, the vehicle maintenance is really important. Vehicle maintenance is where you can change your loadout, but your ship has to be docked wherever you are. So right now I only have the red docked, but in here, any equipment that I had in my inventory at this station would be listed down here, but I don't have anything at the moment. You can also change paints in the library. And then here's where your weapons are. Now you can see that I have a gimbal mount on here, which means that that's an S3 gimbal mount, which downsizes one size. So that means that those Badgers that I have are actually only level 2. So they're not the best. If I remove the gimbal mount, which I can do, I could put a level 3 gun there and have more bang for my buck by just unequipping it. Well, what do you say we get down to the whole reason we're here, making money? Now, there's a lot of ways to make money in Star Citizen. Everything from running cargo to mining to, getting into dogfights to turning in bounties. I personally prefer the mercenary method, but it doesn't matter what you choose. No matter what, before you leave, register your freaking imprint. By registering the imprint to the place that you're at, it guarantees that when you die, and you will, you spawn right back here. And, that saves you so much time and trouble. There's nothing worse than forgetting to set your imprint, dying, and then ending up on the other side of the solar system. You're like, crap. So back in the early days, there used to be a lot of issues with going to any bunker you would get shot at by the turrets. So a lot of veteran players will usually carry a ground vehicle with them. Now, it's not super necessary for a lot of the missions. If you're a real good shot, it's not super important. However, if you are a bad shot, or if you are a new player and you're getting a little confused about stuff, it is vital that you invest early in a ship that can carry a small hover bike or a motorcycle or anything, and bring one with you. And the reason for that is, if you do end up shooting one of the good guys, you'll immediately get a crime stat, and the turrets will immediately target your ship if they're within 1.6 kilometers of the station. Doesn't matter if it's parked behind a mountain, they'll just blow your ship up, and then you're stranded and have to ask for help. That being said, asking for help in this game, this community is pretty darn good about coming to your rescue if you have help, and the person who picks you up 9 times out of 10 wants to run a bunker mission or do a dogfight with you. And it's a good way to make friends. So, with a grain of salt, always bring a ground vehicle. If you just want to play it by yourself and you want to ignore everybody, bring a ground vehicle. If you like making new friends, do whatever you want, That's the beauty of an open world game. We're over here at New Babbage, and the reason we're at New Babbage is it's the easiest place I've found to load up a ground vehicle. There are plenty of smaller mining facilities where you can load up your ships, but honestly, I have a terrible memory, so I get them all confused. So I just come to New Babbage because it's a little easier for me. And ground vehicles work very much the same way as your spaceship does. You get on, you power it up, you communicate with ground to get your ground clearance, and then you can go ahead and go off on your merry way. This is a hover quad I picked up. I think it was 75 grand, something like that. It was pretty reasonable. It's cheaper than the Nox, I know that for sure. Although I will say the Nox is my favorite. This thing is a bit tweaky. Not really my favorite of the hovers. Another thing to be aware of is sometimes turrets will target this thing like they would an aerial vehicle. It's kind of annoying. Now, I have a Cutty Red, or a Cutlass Red, and I like it only because it has a med bay, really. If I had to do it over again, I would have probably got a Cutty. I used to have a Cutty, and I adored it. It's a great all-around ship. It's good in a dogfight, it can pack a punch, and it can take a beating. I really like the Cutty. So as you can see, the quad does fit in the cargo bay. It's a little snug, but it does fit in the cargo bay. That being said, you won't be able to load any cargo as well. So if you're planning on doing a cargo run, this is definitely not the ship for you. The Cutty Black is a good one, though. It's got a lot more cargo room. I think it's 43U, where the Red has 12U, which is only slightly more than the Avenger Titan, which we'll get to. And I'll say right now, the Avenger Titan is the ship you want to start with. Hands down, 100%, want to start with the Titan. So I'm going to quickly show you running a bunker mission. It's one of the more popular ways to make money, and it's one that's mostly confusing to people. One thing you want to do, no matter what you're doing, is turn on call to arms, unless you're doing something illegal, because that will give you money for any kill, any enemy kill. Now, bunkers are broken down into separate things. There's defending, which is just killing bad guys, and then there's clear occupants, which usually have to do with clearing station satellites and stuff like that. And then there's the narcotics ones, which I personally find really annoying because you have to break like 600 boxes, and it's really time-consuming and tedious. So I usually go for the guard facilities, because it pays well, and the more you do mercenary missions in a certain planet's jurisdiction, the more prestige points you get, and the better paid missions you can unlock down the way. So we're going to head on down to the planet and run a quick bunker mission. I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it took quite a while. And like we said, we don't have that kind of time. Bunker missions are pretty straightforward, though. You land and go inside the bunker. It pretty much tells you what you need to do. So it can be confusing for people because they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. So we're coming up to a kind of an interesting situation, which you will run into. When you're coming into land, there's somebody else already here. And you have a choice. You can be a jerk and blow up their ship and immediately get a crime stat and you know, carry on from there. Or you can do what I do, and I tend to leave them alone. More often than not, when you see a ship there, the guy inside is already dead. But occasionally, they've completed their mission and they're clearing out. They're looting right now. And when they're looting, you might run into them. And a lot of players will shoot on sight. Any player they see, they'll just immediately fire. I'm not like that, and a lot of people that I play with are not like that. They tend to be more of the live and let live kind of thing. We're all just trying to make money and fly cool spaceships. But other people like being jerks and, you know, whatever. To each their own. Oh. And here's another player. He saw me put my gun away and realizes that I'm not planning on shooting him, so he's just letting me do me, and I'm just letting him do him. And that's all you really need to do. This guy's not a jerk, and I'm not a jerk. Everybody's happy. We're moving on down the line. Now, if you listen carefully, I think he accidentally fell on the elevator and followed me down. But again, he's not shooting me in the back. I'm not showing any hostility towards him, so we're all good. And then I immediately run off and do my mission, and he immediately continues his looting. This is where you got to be really careful, because there's a bunch of good guys milling around in front of bad guys. If I shoot one of those good guys, got a big problem. Didn't shoot any of the good guys, so we're good. Check your fire. Best thing I can tell you is to check your fire, because you shoot any one of these good guys, they'll blow up your ship, and that's it. Now you're stuck. Oh, and don't shoot the miners. They don't like it. As you can see, there's a lot of purple and blues on the bad guys. They stand out a bit. One thing you'll notice I do is when I'm down to a last few rounds in a magazine, I'll just empty the magazine out, because if you reload, you still have that magazine with just a couple of bullets in it. There's no, Call of Duty style reload where you just get a fresh mag every time. You have combat reloads in this game. And oh, I thought he was cool sliding at me. You have combat reloads in this game, and so it's important to keep track. One thing you'll notice that I always do is I take the helmet, because the helmet, you can stick 5 of them in a good sized backpack, and each one's worth about $800. So it's nice to be able to take that away with you as well. And you don't have to worry about them disappearing, because a lot of the NPCs now will disappear pretty quickly. So you have a pretty small window to loot. Another nice thing to know about running bunkers is that the AI is not very advanced yet in Star Citizen. So as of right now, they can't track you very well when you're sprinting. So a nice trick is, if you ever get in trouble, sprint at them, and it confuses the hell out of the AI. 9 times out of 10, they just kind of stand there and stare at you. The thing I'll always take off of bodies is ammo and med pens, and if they have a decent looking helmet, I'll take that too. Now, there's a lot of glitches that can be encountered when you're playing bunker missions. One that happens a lot is that people will get stuck in elevators, and when that happens, you can't kill them, they can't kill you, they won't move, they won't come out of the elevator, and you're just kind of stuck. And if that happens, you just got to walk away and try again later. It's annoying, but it is what it is. Now, with my current security standing in Hurston, I can get a $75,000 payout for 10 minutes worth of work. And then you get the addition of all of the loot that you pick up from it. So you never have to really buy bullets. You never really have to buy armor, because the enemies are carrying good armor and good weapons. And in any bunker situation, you always want to look for chests that are on the ground. They can be red, gray, blue, green. And they all have different meanings. Like the red ones are weapons. The blue ones are medical. They carry medical supplies. And the green ones have things like the tiger claw shunts and like multi-tools and things like that. And we'll go over that in a little bit. They recently, in the latest update, added markers for the good guys. So it tells you who the good guys are. It doesn't always work, but it gives you an idea. Depending on where you are, the good guys do tend to stand out a bit. Like in Hurston, they're black and gold, and in New Babbage, I believe they're white and blue. So they stand out a bit, and the bad guys all tend to look the same. They have a lot of blues and purples on. They wear different armors, but they're pretty easy to spot. Another way a lot of people make money is by selling cargo, and there's a lot of great websites to tell you where to buy cargo, what the selling prices are, and all that stuff, and I'll link them in the description down below. But basically, on Hurston here, you take the central line to the TDD, which is the Trade Development something. I can't remember what TDD stands for. Basically, you would go here, you go to the consoles, and in here you can purchase the commodity and put it to any ship that you have docked at that particular area. If you're on a mining facility, you need to be docked on the station, or you need to be docked on the one of the ground-based pads. And then once you've done that, you head on over to the Galleria. Then you go to the trading console, which is in the admin office here, and pretty simple, you sell your stuff. Now, some people can make a lot of money cargo trading, and you need a ship with a big cargo bay. You need to know where you're buying, where you're selling. You need to. There's a lot of forethought that goes into trading cargo. I don't generally recommend it for beginners because it is a difficult thing to get into.
Thank you.
So as a new player, you're probably going to be tempted to do delivery missions. Delivery missions are okay when you're getting going. They're a way to put some money in your pocket, but they really, in my opinion, they really don't pay out what your time is worth. I think they're in the 3,000 to like 10,000 unit range. And like with everything in Star Citizen, you want to turn on call to arms just in case you come across a bad guy, kill him, you get an extra $500 or whatever you end up killing him for. So delivery missions are pretty straightforward. You go to one area, you pick it up. You go to another area, you drop it off, and you get paid a small amount of money. So basically, for the same amount of time input, you can run a bunker mission and make a lot more money. Higher potential for stress, but, you know, I think it's a lot more fun than being a bus driver, personally. So here that guy parked funny. I actually made a mistake here and went in the wrong door, so I had to go through a bunch of airlocks twice, which is hilarious because I'm on Hurston, which has breathable atmosphere, so there's no reason for airlocks at all. There's the package I need to pick up, go through the doors, we get in our ship, and off we go. This is where it becomes important to have space in the ship because, as you can see, you cannot add it to the ship's inventory. So you have to drop it onto the ground, basically, inside your ship. You can do this in an Aurora, but some of the better paying delivery missions require 3 or 4 things to be picked up. And when that happens, it's really difficult to put it in an Aurora, in the little cargo space in the Aurora, because first off, you have to move through the cargo space and there's not a lot of foot room. And secondly, they tend to glitch a little bit when you set them down. Most of the time, they're okay if there's nothing touching them, but if something touches them or you try to set it on top of something else, they get a little tweaky, and in the Aurora especially, I've found they actually sometimes fall through the ship. So we pick up our stuff, run it in here. This is where a lot of the glitches happen for a lot of people with delivery missions. This is the kiosk where you have to return things. You have to hit the delivering and then place it inside the box. You get a prompt for placing it. Sometimes you'll deposit the item and it won't recognize that you've actually deposited it. Now, obviously, there's a lot of different ways to make money in Star Citizen. I'm not going to go over every single one because, frankly, we're going to be here all day if I do that. I'm going to take you quickly through your starter ships. This is the ship that I would say most people start the game with, the Aurora. It's got 2 Type 1 blasters on the front, and the cool thing about this one is it actually has room for 2 more on top, but they're not equipped until you buy them and equip them. It also doesn't have any cargo space. You can't load any interior cargo to this ship, and this is the quote-unquote cargo area they have. That's the lie-down bed. The bed itself is glitchy a lot of times, especially if you lay down in Quantum, you'll get kicked right out of the ship. It's really weird. The good thing about the Aurora, in my opinion, is that it does have a good field of view. You can see a lot out of the cockpit, and it does make landing pretty easy when you're starting out, which can be a little daunting for a lot of people. So the Mustang is the next in our list of pre-packaged ships that you can buy from the website. Now, the Mustang Alpha, it's not my favorite. Honestly, it's really maneuverable. It's a great fighter, but it has only 2 Type 1 cannons on the front and no room for missile racks. It does have this little cargo space in the back, which can hold 6 cargo units, which up until recently didn't work at all. You couldn't do anything with it, but they recently made it so that it does actually function when it's not doing stuff like that. I personally really like the airfoils when they open up. It's just a cool little mechanic that they added. There's the Type 1 blasters. I think they're cannons, so they do pack a pretty decent punch to them instead of the repeaters, but, you know. One thing that is really nice about this ship, though, is it has really nice field of view as well. You can see a lot out of it. As a starter ship, though, it's a tweaky ship to fly. It's really feisty. So the Aurora, it's more forgiving when you're flying around in an Aurora for the first time. When you fly around in this ship, it gets real twitchy real quick. The Aurora is $113,000 if you're buying it with AUEC. The Mustang Alpha is $251,000, so it's quite a bit more if you didn't start with this ship and you wanted to buy it for some reason. There are better ships to spend your money on, but fewer that are good in a dogfight that are cheaper. Now we come to my personal favorite and an absolute must in the game. 785,000 UEC Avenger Titan. It does come with 2 Type 3 repeaters on gimbals underneath, so if you remove the gimbals, you can get those up to the full-size Type 3s. They're currently mounted with Type 2s. It also has a Type 4 with gimbal Gatling gun on the front, so watch your ammo consumption on that one because it burns it pretty darn quick. Now, the great thing about this ship, it's small, it's maneuverable, it's good in a fight, it's good at cargo hauling. It does only have 8 units of storage space, but you know, for what you're getting, it's quite a bit. You're not going to be hauling huge amounts of Quantanium across the system in this ship anyway. It's also got a really nice jump range. You can actually make it from Area 18 to New Babbage on a single tank of gas, no problem. It's also sporting 2 Type 2 missile pods under each wing. Missiles are still a little tweaky in this game, but they're worth it to have on board. And again, for a starter ship, it's got a great field of view. Half the screen is taken up by the cockpit, unlike the other 2 I've shown you so far, but it'll get you there. All right, kids, that pretty much wraps up this episode of Tips and Tricks for Beginners in Star Citizen. My name is Random. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked the video, you know what to do. See you next time on Random Undertone.